Hi. Well, as you can see, we're doing coding today. Or at least we're starting with coding. What have I done in the meantime? Well, I've gotten the flavor messages fleshed out. So I now have 10 level up, 10 halfway point. Form change, armor eater stuff. I don't even have the armor eater code begun yet. I still have the messages for it. Got all the level down stuff. I finished level up block 2, which is... I also shortened the seek block too. So it's a lot shorter now. It's half total line count? I don't know. Also did a little bit of fiddling with the registers. But regedit used regedit a little bit to disable the nagging algorithm for gaming, and that may have an impact on streaming too. What I've noticed is so far I still get packet loss, but it's not as severe as it used to be. It's because the Nagel algorithm tries to group small packets together so that you have more efficient use of bandwidth. And that basically meant if like one packet got dropped or late, then it would also make like the next 10 packets or something late too, because the algorithm would try to group them all together, send them out at the same time. Now if one packet's late, that's the only packet that's late. Of course, streaming and gaming, a late packet is the same as a drop packet. What I've noticed so far with the stream is that I don't know about, yeah, that, yeah, that right there was dropped to 0 for a bit. I don't know if I'm losing packets. I think I'm losing packets at the same frequency. It's just not for as long. Usually, there's some very long drop-off points though. I didn't completely disable the Nagel algorithm because I see its use. It's just I don't know if that setting will apply to the stream as well. Is all. I also noticed the bitrate fluctuating a lot. Like yeah, like before. For now, it's kind of staying at a kind of stable 5K that I've set it to, but before it was like wildly fluctuating between 3 and 6K. I always find it weird when it goes up to 6 kilobytes per second because, as I said, I just set it to 5 kilobytes, and it's like a little over. It's like 5.2K, which I think is fine. Like when it gets like 6.6K, which usually happens when all the packets catch up after a near disconnect, I'm just like, what? How? I imagine there'll be, if there's any real difference with streaming, I imagine it would be we, instead of having completely dropped frames and therefore freezes on your end, we end up with just a little bit of quality loss at times. I still notice the complete packet drops though. That's Comcast. That's helped a bit though. Nagel algorithms helped already. Where was I? Okay, I'm gonna put the block there. Alright, so seek got shortened. I have cap and break implemented. And level change block is completely set up. So right now, with Dyspharagon, I actually had the break block also like reduce the stats too when it triggered, as well as the level, but this just changes the level. That's all it does. It just periodically checks how often stuff is broken. And then if we exceed the threshold and how many items are broken, because it's multiple items tied to the same level, I had it so if you have half of the items broken, it triggers by default. And then you'll lose the level. It'll set the XP properly, And if it's going to go to 1 or lower, then it just sets it to 1, XP to 0, and then reset that. These two blocks basically just... Yeah, that's a little bit right. These two blocks basically just handle either incrementing or decrementing the level and setting the XP appropriately. Because say we set increase level and don't increase the X, and this sets the XP requirement, increases it and resets half once. This also resets half once. Good. You want to make sure it does that. And then we have... What was it? Alright. So if we're leveling down, what will happen is if we decrease the level, that'll go through. Then what will happen is this function will occur again, and it'll see that XP we have is greater than the requirement, because that'll also be reduced when we decrease the level. And it'll just really undo all the D-level stuff, so we have to change the XP value as well on break. But otherwise, it's just managing level and XP, because this handles all the stat changes. Every single little bit. From the actual stats in the armor to the enchantments. Pretty nice. Really nice. Also a pain in the ass, but still really nice. The main reason I started this is that way I can just set level to 11 in the console and game and actually get a change instead of nothing happening. With this Farragon, I'd have to set XP to XP rec like 10 times to get to level 11 each time I wanted to test that. Alright, level cap stuff. Alright, so how to do things? Alright, so level cap. I don't know if I should put an explanation line in here. No, I think by having it be like S level cap, and you see the variable name is cap type, I think you should be able to put 2 and 2 together, and if you can't, I guess you're from the south. Where was it? Alright, 1 is PC level, so I need to cap equal manage function, right? Cinder's mod. I don't know when I'll do Dark Souls 3, but having the knowledge of that. Alright, I was looking at online play. Because Dark Souls is just not the same without online play. I liked the PvP, past tense. Balance is just bad. The closest they ever got to balance in any of the games was in Dark Souls 2. Which, unfortunately enough, also had the worst PvE of all the games. So it gets really slammed on by the community, but PvP balancing wise, it was the best. Oh hey, I just noticed we're actually connected. Yellow, you disconnected completely. Nope. Wow. Okay. That's alright. Give me a moment. I'll see if restarting the stream will actually get YouTube reconnected, because wow. Time to see if that... You know, I should probably just bring up my actual stream thing. Oh, there we are. It's connected. Oh, that's one. Okay, my Comcast is the disconnect. It did not reconnect to YouTube. Reconnected to Twitch and DLive though. So I guess good watch on whatever. I don't. Let's just go watch on DLive and Twitch then. To get those a little bit beforehand. Alright. I'm back with this. Oh yeah, that's why I brought this up. Where was it? I was also looking at some Nexus mods, so now I have new tabs and this one though. I think it was some shields that were good in this. The armors, again, as you can see, it's just same message, same meshes, but new textures. Here it is. Some good looking shields. Ebony shield. This is still a shield that a statue uses. This pack adds that, which is really glad because I like that shield. It's a cool sword. Again, it's just a retexture of a pre-existing sword, but you know, I should probably, like, instead of looking up the functions, I did this on Farragon, so I could just look at the code there. Where is manager? Alright. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to do this eventually. Glad I'm looking over this code, because there's some stuff I forgot about, like the whole making sure you can't enchant it as well. Alright, set level cap, you say. Makes sense I make it a function. Actually, this makes a lot of sense as a function. Should go do that. Put that over on the side. So then I don't need to do this. I can just call a function then. New one. Nope, not that. Here we are, set level cap. With the description. Hmm. That's the thing. The reason why I made a second variable to store the actual cap And so that way, if you somehow learned how to use console commands to change cap type middle of session, you should be able to, should actually change back to what it should be. Whereas Deuce-Faragon just overwrites as level cap. And so if you want to get that back, you'd have to reload the save with the init, change the ini file. Which, I mean, that's fine for normal use, because I intend for that, but I'm going to compensate for if you get console savvy. Which also means we need a second value here. Hey, Zobit. So I did a tweak to learn about the Nagel algorithm, and that's on by default in Windows for everything. I did a partial disable of it. That may help. Like, Comcast still drops packets like crazy, but the packet shouldn't be as big with the Nagel algorithm off. Now, what order to put this? Yeah, I guess I'll put it second. Ordering for function parameters is usually like whatever is getting directly modified goes last, and then the closer it is to stuff that gets modified, then the closer to last it is. If not, then just alphabetically, I guess. I don't know, it's a general sense to how the params are ordered. And while cap is what's going to get spit back out. Oh wait, actually, if it is going to get spit back out, then never mind. It is indeed what gets modified, technically speaking. Alright, and now I pretty much just have to copy and paste this little bit here. Which it's pretty much is just you pass this in the mode and the level cap, S level cap, and then it'll spit back out either S level cap or something else. This way I can do dynamic caps without having to overwrite S level cap. Yeah, I'm not going to include an else for level cap equals level cap. That's just not necessary. I don't think I'll include that. I'll include it in the description to say that it's 0. It used to have a count of actually like 46 tabs, and I actually got it reduced to the point where I could start to see the names of tabs again. Like I got half of the first character, and then I start looking at Nexus mods a bit, because Duct Tape asked me a question over DMs, and now the count is kind of back up. I don't think it's quite to 40 yet, but I don't think I can really see the first half of the characters again. No, not anymore. Yeah, so like some here. No, not there. Where was it? Screenshot. Because I found this resource pack that has, yes, it includes the shields from the statues that actually look good. Like, I'm going to use those. And there's another statue weapon pack, and then this third tab is, it's more Modder's resources. And the tabs are kind of my own issue. Honestly, a lot of them is manga decks because I just have a bunch of stuff that I've fallen behind on that I want to read, and so I just open all the tabs and do the thing so it cannot. Anyway, I did. Your question did actually get me to look for resources for my own mods again because remember I asked for some Death Knight stuff earlier. I remember coming across here this Death Knight armor. And I'm just like, why didn't I find this before my other search in the armor section? That's because it's under models and textures. Should me go, right, some people don't put under armor that's actually armor. So I started to look in other sections of the Nexus. uh, yeah, with Chrome, I'd say the big concern is RAM. Because from what I remember hearing from Nerva was that browsers use a lot of CPU in order to do what they do and have little to no RAM, but Chrome decides to just offload, kind of do the calcs, and then just store them in RAM so it doesn't have to redo the calcs, which means Chrome ends up using very little of your CPU, but like half of your RAM. Maybe I can show it. And as far as to go back to your actual question on UI mods, I only really know of two UI mods for Oblivion, Darnified and Northern UI. And Northern UI just makes Oblivion UI like Skyrim's. I think OBS actually uses a fair amount. Yeah, Chrome is like I've seen Chrome go up to like 2 gigs in RAM usage. Chrome. Oh, hey, 26. Cool. But yeah, like Chrome just zero CPU, like less 1%, but uses like half a gig of RAM. And I've seen it go up to like 2 gigs of RAM before. Yeah, again, all I know of is Darnified UI and Northern UI. Yeah, so Northern UI, it's as you can see, it's a Skyrim style UI, but the main draw of Northern UI is the fact that it actually adds in proper fucking controller support. Like Oblivion by default has this god awful terrible controller support that doesn't barely fucking functions. Like half the buttons work, and they don't do exactly what they do. They aren't traditionally mapped. Like A isn't to freaking activate or jump. It's like I forget what it even is. I think like it was right D pad to unsheath your weapon, and it was like right bumper for confirming thing. It was god awful. And Northern UI fixes that, makes things all nice and good stuff, but it has some conflict with Darnified UI. The thing with Darnified UI is that there were some other like cleanup mods for. I think it was Clean Spellbook and Darnified UI to properly function. Otherwise, the text would get too big for the screen, and they didn't use the message box EX, so it didn't have a scroll bar. So you just couldn't see the buttons to actually exit the options menu, which meant you're stuck in that kind of a soft lock without the UI as smaller font. Darnified UI and Northern UI can coexist, but it takes some work that I didn't really get working. Those are two mods I know of. Darnified UI is really popular for Oblivion, so there's got to be some stuff in the README files about conflicts and getting it working with Darn. It's one of those things that's popular enough. If it doesn't work, somebody's gonna post a guide about a workaround or a patch. Anywho, and then there was one video from Limit Breaker happened. I posted it in report so you can watch that, but made me aware of the existence of like some big ass mods for Dark Souls 3, a game I just finished, put down, and never looked back to a while ago. And before I started this, I'm just looking about doing online play, which is you can get soft-banned for using this, and I'm trying. That's better than a full ban. A soft ban just means you get put into the soft ban just means you get put into the shadow ban server pool, which means you get put into the pool with all the other soft ban people, which you'd assume would be all cheaters, except they're not, because FromSoft's anti-cheat is it's not robust. Has a lot of false positives, so I eh, like I don't know if getting soft bans really. Obviously, I'd rather not, but I was just trying to look into other ways, things I can do to maybe get around that, or at least not have it impact my experience that much while having online play. Because I PvP was my jam back in that game, so not having online play was kind of even if there are a lot of new items. Yeah, that's the bulk of the new tabs now. Where was I? All right, level cap. And we have equals PC level. By the way, so but I would be glad if you used Referral. And again, it's not complete. It'd be stuck with iron armor looks, and it'd be heavy armor, but you can download Zephyros off of GitHub. I do upload the ESP to there. I do not upload the textures and meshes because that some of that stuff you have to get permission to use. I don't want it, so it'd be a bad idea to just freely distribute it. But you can't get the ESP and the code off of there. Like, use the desktop stuff. All right, this is probably not going to show it in here. Probably not. Eh. Really? Well, you could do a virtual machine. I know Nerva uses Linux and he just runs a VM of Windows whenever he wants to play a game. In fact, he's flexed on me because he can actually run 4 VMs simultaneously on his rig. So he can just be playing a game with me while also doing 3 other things. Anywho, all right, because how GitHub works, I can actually part of yeah, it's actually true enough. Well, we won't know until you try. I seriously don't know how resource intensive a VM is. I know running 4 VMs is something I don't even think my computer can do. But running just 1 VM, maybe you can do it. Yeah, on here on GitHub, I've got all the old versions, and as it just said, textures and meshes aren't there. You can't get the ESP. You can't get the any file. For me, I haven't. Gosh, a bit rate's low. Uh, I haven't. eh, Yeah, so I haven't done any custom armor custom meshes or anything for Severus yet, so this is actually everything. There are no custom meshes or textures yet, so if you download the ESP from GitHub, you'll have the full mod as it currently is. Which, as I mentioned, it's just going to be iron armor appearance with its heavy armor. But it has the growth stats, it has the enchantments. All that stuff is set up. I'm right now working on dynamic level cap. It'll even have the break in there. It just won't have any kind of menu code, no customization really. All the growth stuff is in though. And then with 1.7, again, this has the extra features in it like mimicry and some of the rebalancing. Dynamic level cap, so you can download 1.6 from the Nexus and then get 1.7 from GitHub, and you'll have an early release build. Where's it? Oh, right. So then PC Fame. And then do right. I like how you leave a let empty. I like how if you leave it let empty, the error is too many operators. Oh, it's off near the screen. Okay. Since I don't need that. Oh boy. I think I'll just copy and paste from the text txt file. And then we don't need 3, it's only 2 skills. I think that's what it would be called, but I'll have to look at the actor value strings. Because I know there's no spaces. Here we are. Light armor. And heavy armor. Fame. Whoopsie daisy. Alright. There we go. And so now if just have else this way 0 will give you S level cap. And if you set it out of bounds, it's also S level cap. pretty short function, honestly. I don't know, man, there's a lot. Dynamic combat, vanilla combat enhanced. If you're okay with a buggier mess, there's like the ultra violence combat stuff. It's a good number. Just know the ones that do a lot of stuff are also unstable. Alright. This seems like this function seems in order. Which means when we go back here, I don't need to do this long bunch of if statements. Instead, I can just do let cap equal call level cap, pass it the mode, S cap type, and then S level cap. At which point we just copy that. How exactly did I do this in Manager? Like because to me this looks like just every half second I'll call this function and it'll do that. Which would of course be wasted cycles if... Yeah, I guess that would be it then. We just have to check if or not, if we're actually in the range for it to be not S level cap. Yeah, just have to be that. Which means we go down to here. And then we have if S cap type. Wait, what if... Oh, I'd have to check if it changes. We just need a new variable to do that. Ugh. Oh, and then... I think I already did it up here. Setting cap once is what I'm looking at. Yeah, okay. Cap once is so that... It should be so that you only get level up the level cap message once, the message box. Except the way I'm thinking of this is that what I can't quite decide is if, let's say, the cap is 5, you hit level 5, but you have enough XP to go to level 6. And the cap gets raised to 6, so then it becomes 6. Should you get the level cap message again, or should it just silently level up? It's like... Hmm. I'm leaning towards silent level up just because of messages like Sephiroth is complete. It reaches the apex of its power. Because it kind of shatter your suspension of disbelief a bit if you kept getting the whole and then you level up, it's complete. Level up, it's complete. Over and over again. Yeah, rip packets. Really, rip packets right there. guess we have... It's just cap T, shorthand. This way we can save some cycles. Instead of running this function every single time we run the script, we just have to check if there's a change, which I do anyways for updating resistances, where I just keep track of what your resistance is, and I calculate new resistance every frame, but I only call the function if there's an actual difference, which is what these extra variables are for. I'm just going to do the same for cap 2. That's actually how level change works too. You know, just check if this level variable is not equal to global. That. Oh, wait, what if you level up frequently? Eh. Alright, I guess we just have to run this every single time. Well, some wasted cycles if we got S level cap, but the fact is, if you manage to change this, if you get console savvy and you change it directly with the console to one of these, it'll switch, that's fine. But if you switch it from here back to S level cap, there isn't any kind of change I can make. Wait, there is actually some checks I can use. Which is... basically, I need to check wherever the heck the end for sand. Just need to check that this cap type is... well, it should be 0. I also need to account for out of bounds. So greater than 1. Cap type is less than 4. Actually, no, greater than 0. Deal with integers. So if we have it in the 1 to 4 range, feeling I need to change some of these to ors and group some more. Like, I should definitely eval this. Just straight up eval that. So this way, this whole block will get evaled together, and it'll only... that will actually check if it's actually in the range of 1 to 4. And then... let's probably do an OR here then. This way, if the cap type changes, then we reevaluate, which will catch if we actually change the type, if we say go from type 4 back to type 0. And then we have here for if we're actually in cap type 1 to 4, then we don't need to keep reevaluating every time. That should handle it. It's honestly a lot simpler block than I thought it would be. It's a lot less work. Oh, the same thing happened with the break block too, because I thought it would be more complex, like it was just Fairground. I'm like, oh right, everything else it needs to do is have them change level, and XP is already done the level up block. Level change. I just keep feeling like maybe there's some more to do in game mode, but I feel like I'm just pushing off my new mode. HUD status bars? I've not heard of that. You know, there's subreddits you can ask for mod help. I mean, well, it's not specialized for this. There is the Oblivion subreddit. There's the Oblivion mod subreddit, which, while it's specialized, is a lot less active. And then there is where the heck's the oh wait, never mind. That was the wrong topic. Yeah, it should be. This should get me to the right directory. Yeah, there's also stuff on the Nexus forums, which are more active than the subreddit. There's places you can go to ask about this stuff. Mm-hmm. I still can't help but feel dissatisfied with this if statement. Like, what if you're set to 0? I think I will just. I'm torn between trying to save cycles by making sure we don't actually run the function if there aren't any changes to level cap, but at the same time, acknowledging the fact that you can change the level cap or what it should be at any time. And therefore, I should actually be running this function all the time. Because as it is right now, there's one problem with this, which is if you have set the cap type to 0, it'll be S level cap. Then you change what S level cap is. Then again, I'm just talking about edge cases. Like, a normal user would just change the init file and load their save, at which point we'd go all the way back up to this init block, and things would be handled just peachy. You don't need to worry about it at all. This stuff is set. Who cares? But if they somehow figure out the fact that you can actually change all these variable values in-game using console commands, and that's what I'm building for, and I really just shouldn't. Huh. Yeah, I guess I really just shouldn't. So who needs the cap type thing? I just need to check what the mode is. Yeah, that way if it's S level cap, then you only need to set it once and you're solid. Where was that new area? Cap T. That here. No errors. Cool. Oh, right. I also need to probably... I forgot about this until just now. So if A is a Fearless level, A is less than cap. You see, here's the thing. If I leave this as is right now, what will happen, what I mentioned before, if you're level 5, but you have enough XP to get to 6, and the cap is 5, and then the cap gets raised to 6, your level will go up to 6, but you also get the cap message again. So I need to change where cap wants is set to 0. Which is probably not... It should probably be here in the level change block. Yeah, enchantments are a pain in the ass. At least customizable enchantments. Like, if it was static enchantment, that's fine. Because you know exactly what's going to be the entire time. You can just like with the stats, it's just a linear scale that is shifted back and forth on when you level up or level down. But because it's customizable, and it can be any effects in any order, I have to goddamn keep track of everything. Make sure all the effects customization adds. Here, I'll just highlight it. So this is all the code for just making sure enchantments stats are right on level change. And that is like half or more, yeah, a little over half of the entire level change block. And the enchants you have, because so this is the array. All right, cool. this is the array containing all the enchant variable data. And I initially had it include level data too, but then the strip size down here got up to like 50 kilobytes, and I'm just, good gods, no. So level is a separate array from all the rest of the enchant data. Okay, so where do I have to set cap lengths? Hmm. Honestly, it's in this block. I'm just trying to determine if I should make it a separate little else if, or an if, just an if on its own, or if I should put it into some other stuff. I don't use OCO too. Just all its information is there for you. It's a lot of reading, but you just really read it all. Because you probably won't have questions if you read all the README text, the entire description, and the README file. Any kind of sticky post that should give you all the information you'd need. Yeah, honestly, if I just put cap lengths to 0 on any of these, it should be fine. Even all of them. Because these will all only occur when all the level ups actually cease. Oh, wait. Being inquisitive is fine, but a fair number of the questions feel like, well, all of your questions lately, hey, fucking packet loss. Fucking packet losses as soon as I'm answering a question. Being inquisitive is fine, but all the questions you've been asking lately, I don't have answers to. And a fair amount of them feel like questions that you wouldn't need to ask if you'd done some reading. Either in the mod description, in the posts on the mod page, or in the README. So I'll say it so you don't feel, so you know what kind of time frame you're on, but when I took the time to mod my save game and actually put all the mods together, get them, and install them, excluding the research part, but actually just installing the mods and going through all the readmes took 4 days. It's 4 days from when I'm like, I'll start modding the game to when I finish modding the game, I can actually hit new game for anything other than testing. So it's going to be a lot of reading, but you'll have a stable game and a few questions. I get that you think I mod a lot, but I've barely touched Oblivion recently because I've been coding this and playing other games. So I haven't been modifying my own Oblivion install since like February. So my memory is faded on it, and I have not looked at as many mods as you think I have. Where was I with the cap one set? The thing I'm hesitant about is, you know what, I'll just take a look at this. So, oh, okay, I think I kind of know. Kind of know what I want. Which is, if we have the issue of you're leveling up from the cap to the new cap, then when you get to here, first off, this gets skipped because you're not going to level 1. You'll ring true for that, but cap 1s will be set, so this will go false and you go to the next one where you have a level up. So if I set cap 1s to 0 here, then it should end up being every other level cap. You get the message appearing, because then that'll be set to 0 here, and then level cap will increase again, and so then this will be true and get set, and then level cap increases again, in which case this will go false, and then this will go true. So I probably need to separate this and nest it inside. Then again, cap 1s will be set too. Okay, you know what, I'm going to leave that in there, because for level down aspect, of course, you're not the cap anymore, so. Actually, I'm going to put them in the same ordering as up top. I'll just reiterate, if you want things to be modded stable and whatnot, you need to do a lot of reading yourself. It'd be nice if you could just, have a pre-made package that you could install and not have to read anything. Just kind of install the mods, click a button, wait for the install to complete, then get to playing. That's not how Oblivion modding works. That might be how Skyrim modding works, though, because I do remember hearing about Wabbajack being a software tool that actually installs mod packs for you. So you might be able to actually do that whole just click and play thing for Skyrim right now, but not for Oblivion. For Oblivion, you have to read all the manuals to be sure things can work and that they don't conflict, and if they do conflict, how that conflict gets resolved. Oh, that's where you went. I'll say I really debated adding the Wabbajack as a form reduced Faragon. It's really close to adding it in there. And if you want to know how it's going to add there, you wouldn't be able to directly set the Wabbajack. It would be that the random form would have a chance to give you the Wabbajack. I ultimately didn't do that, but I was really tempted to. Yes. You can turn your army of rats into an army of ogres. Okay, where was that? Right. Right, I need to do a more elaborate check on level up, though. Uncle Sheho. It's a shame that the... Man, I forget what the term is. I know it's zeitgeist, but I forget what the qualifying term for it was. It was like cultural zeitgeist, population zeitgeist, or something else. I feel like it started with the P, but it wasn't population. People zeitgeist? I don't know, but the zeitgeist. It's just kind of made Uncle Sheo just a cheese fanatic. It was like, you played through the Shivering Isles. Uncle Sheo has a lot of great lines, but he has that one line about cheese that just stuck in everybody's memory. And now, in Esso, all he talks about is cheese. In Skyrim, half the time it's just talking about cheese. It's really diminished his character. That'll be a long ways off. Like, we might make another 4 games out of Skyrim before we get to 6. Because there was like a recent statement from Bethesda that Test 6 will come out after Starfield, because Starfield is a higher priority for them. And we ain't heard jack and squat about Starfield yet, which means Starfield's a long ways off, which means Test 6 is an even longer ways off. But we have gotten a little bit of leaks about Test 6, and we think it'll either be in Elsewhere or Hammerfell. We know it's going to be a type of area, and those are the 2 deserts in Tamriel. So how will this work? Go from the cap to the new cap. Actually, do you think a level up message should... So, in this specific case of where you go from the cap to the new cap, like the level cap increases by 1 and you're instantly at the new cap, should you get a level up message or should you not? Because one of the things I can do is I can just put in an and here, and num is less than cap. And that way, if you level up from the old cap to the new cap, you'll get no message. I don't know if that's how it should be, though. Maybe you should get a level up message. Maybe you should. I'm gonna get a little bit of music up. I know that like that Dojin album I played last time, one of the tracks actually got a copyright strike. Well, not copyright strike, copyright claim? I think it was a claim. I don't know, it's copyright something. Engine room. So now let's look for, what was it? Oh well, I forgot the exact thing. It was Riverside. There we are. Okay. Alright, so this way, if we're at the cap, we'll have cap 1 set to once, so you won't get the message box. But if we go to a new cap, you still be a level up, and it won't set cap once again. Won't unset it, because you'll be equal to or greater than the cap. Okay, I think that's it. I just need to go into menu mode now. YouTube's copyright system is even more exploitable than that because you don't need to provide proof that stuff is copyrighted to make a claim. Not only do you not need to make proof, you are guilty until proven innocent. And the person who decides you're innocent is the person who made the claim, which means you can just claim somebody's video and no repercussions. You just get their cash. Which is a large reason why I need to start using alternates to YouTube. I still have a strong habit of going there for watching content, but also I really don't expect YouTube to become my main platform. I'm going to use it as my main archive site because it's easy to archive streams there. It's just auto archive for me, but I'm not going to use it as a main site. Alright, so then we have, again, menu mode. I think it was 1002 for inventory. Yeah, exactly. And American companies, and at this point just America entirely, is for profit. Case in point, that internet is that if there isn't any money in it, they're not going to do jack shit. Because America is wholly for profit at this point. Alright, I think the menu code should be at the bottom of this. Yeah, here we are, menu codes. Oh, hey, there's actually a menu code for messages. How neat. Yeah, there's the international law too. Yeah, alright, so 1002. And I guess I should do the enchanting and sigil stone stuff. I still can't believe sigil stone is a separate sigil stone enchanting is a separate goddamn menu from regular enchanting. Like, I kind of get how, but really, you couldn't just like program the enchanting menu to take a sigil stone or soul gem. No, you had to make a completely separate menu. Welcome back. I forgot to say welcome back to Soba as well, but you never said you left, so oh well. Why do you say that? That YouTube would have been dead without Google. Also, assuming this hasn't... Actually, I won't really know about copyright strikes until it gets, like, permanently uploaded to YouTube. And Twitch is a little bit better about it, in that they just mute the parts that have acclaimed music. So, I mean, we lose my dulcet tones, but we don't actually lose the entire stream. I have no idea how DLab does it, but I assume they just don't censor it, because they're small and they can get away with deregulation. Oh, that's not how that goes. Yeah, I really want to know why you think YouTube would be dead without Google. I think this was 62... 48, not 62. Actually, I'm just going to move this over to the left. So I really prefer when the ordering here matches with the physical ordering on the monitor. Just having them swap like that. I've already seen how I get confused for the windows already. Ah, true. True. Yeah, they would not have had the funds to go through all that litigation. And if they passed the buck on to the creators, that would have been a whole other kind of can of worms. That said, YouTube at this point is kind of so corporatized and large, it's effectively evil. I mean, its motives are plain, it's for profit, but for profit is generally not a good thing. In the long term, anyways. Where's enchanting now? There we are, enchantment 42. Yeah, they'll... I only slightly understand why lawsuits are so expensive. I assume it's in hiring attorneys and lawyers, and that there are public defenders who do all that stuff for free because they're government funded, except almost nobody becomes a public defender because it's way more profitable to just be a private lawyer. That I get is part of it, but I don't get where the rest of the cost comes from. And of course, that actually comes with a positive feedback loop on the public defenders, because since nobody wants to be public defender because it pays less, since people don't want to be public defenders because it pays less, that means there's fewer defenders for an increasing amount of cases of people that can't pay for it, which means the defenders get swamped in work, which means people who go into law then also really don't want to be a public defender because then they'll also get swamped in work, which leads to the remaining ones being further swamped in work. Like, they can get maybe 10 seconds to look over your case. It's just how much they get inundated because there's so few of them. So I get that's where part of the expense comes from, but I don't know where the rest of the expense is coming from. Here's the inventory menu, enchanting. Just put a comment in here for my own self feature. Enchant. And disenchant. I was not expecting the term Elsagate. Yes, that I'm a bit more familiar with, which is the fact that yeah, that was the thing that happened like late last year in like November or December, where the law says you can't track information on kids because they want to protect kids from bad actors. I'll give them that. But then, and so we have the sites that go, you have to be 13 years or older or get permission from your parents to actually go on the site. And they don't really verify that, they just kind of put it out there. And so that way you can assume, for legal purposes, that everybody in the site is not a minor, they're not a kid. But then it kind of got out that Google knows full well that people ignore that warning, and that there's a bunch of kids on the site, and they're giving spiels to ad companies specifically like, here's all of the kids on our site, please advertise to them. Yeah, I got an email specifically about that since I'm technically a creator on the site. I think I even posted about that in like Via Sonatus back then. It so far hasn't really hit me too hard, but yeah, that. The thing with verifying the age, though, is that either you give them, say, enter your birth date, at which point they can lie, or you give them ID, at which point you're doxing yourself. So actually verifying age is a very tricky thing. I feel like it's just... I feel like the bulk of this comes down to bad parenting. That the bulk of all the think of the children issues just come down to parents not being good parents. Just the only the most elegant solution I can think of for this is is, I mean, aside from parental controls actually blocking things, is just having you have your personal information on your computer, so that way the computer can send only the necessary information asked of it to sites, which you could, again, just input the wrong information, but that way you only have to, like, expose your age to sites that asked for it, but you still have all the information to dox you on your computer, which still leaves you exposed. Because I have, outside of documents that I actually had to, like, submit to places that would require my real name, I don't use my real name for anything, even on my computer. Like, not even, what the heck would it be? Yeah, that's not my real name. That's the name I have on this computer. Yeah, I feel a lot of these issues could be solved with education, which Republicans have been, I assume Republicans, I haven't looked back into history enough to really confirm it's that party specifically, but it's entirely within their image to do so, to just strip back education for the past 40 so years. Yeah, I mean, being excessively careful with your information is one way to go about it. The other way is to just... There isn't really a way to stop someone from doxing you if they really, really want to. Because if they have the money, they have the resources, they have the determination, they can go through all the hurdles and buy the information on you. At which point you can just go the other route and just dox yourself, make it completely freely available. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, it's already out there. I've known some people that are like that, that actually use their real name as their handles on everything. Because that removes the threat of doxing if your real name is already out there. At least it partially removes the threat of doxing. There still is the whole issue of what if it, you know, get your address, go to your house, and physically assault you, but it's pretty rare. In fact, I haven't heard any cases like that recently. Yeah, even there's also like hard drive scramblers that you can use to, like, when you want to dispose of a hard drive or sell it off, you want to format it, you want to clear it out and erase everything. But the thing is, because it's all just a bunch of magnets that the days get stored on, there are people that actually specialize in looking at the magnets and the traces of data left on there to reconstruct all the data that you just deleted from your hard drive. And the more thorough you do it, the harder it is, but it never gets impossible. Yeah, this is... The thing with security is it's never you're completely safe, it's just how many hoops do perpetrators have to go through before they get what they want. It's just about increasing the number of hoops until you feel reasonably sure that they won't be bothered to get your stuff. Like, that's also one of the reasons why Microsoft is trying to phase out password use, because at this point passwords are incredibly easy to hack or leak, because we still have a lot of middle-aged and above people on the internet who fall for phishing scams oh so often. Plus, if you're trying to hack one password, you can brute force that of almost any length very easily. Yeah, even if you physically destroy the hard drive, they could, you know, try to find all the parts and then extract data from that, what they can get. As for the password phasing out thing, I was a bit concerned about that at first, because I was under the impression that without passwords it'd be easy to get into things. But after fully watching the video on it, I'm a bit more assuaged by it, which is the fact that they're replacing it with biometrics and face recognition. And while I was initially concerned with that because the early rollouts of that by like Apple were kind of inaccurate, where like you could have your cat open up your phone. It was that level of tolerance for error in them, but they've gotten better now. Yeah, so a lot of in the video it showed a lot of Microsoft stuff. It's just either there's a thumb drive you put into a USB port that verifies it for you, that acts as your key to your laptop. You just stick that in, open it up, and you're automatically inside. Or it's facial recognition where the camera at the top will actually look at your face, and it's faster than using a password. And it should be safer as long as the software is, and as long as the hardware is of at least a minimum quality to actually, you know, get a decent pixel resolution for face, and the software is good enough to make sure it actually knows it's your face exactly. And that should actually be better, far better than password for now. Because eventually tech is going to get to the point where we should be able to recreate faces and then kind of do that type of security, but that's like far in the future. I wouldn't worry about it right now, but just can't help but think like that's a potential, this way this conversation is going. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like lately I think the biometrics have gotten, at least I've heard the biometrics have gotten better. I still personally don't trust them and haven't used them, but I'll give them a chance if I ever get the opportunity to use it. Because obviously they haven't just stopped development on it, but the last we've really heard of them in the public sphere, they were indeed trash. But that seems to be what's going to be replacing passwords, if not USB sticks that act as keys. Yeah, that's that. I mean, brute forcing passwords, yeah, that's doesn't happen too often now, because I mean, if somebody's trying to target your fucking right. If someone's trying to target you specifically, I don't think there's anything you can do to protect your password. Just because I've seen some stuff on just how fast you can brute force passwords, and it's like, it's fucking fast. They need less than a day to brute force your password and your password alone. The thing is, though, that hackers that get like a bunch of passwords and try to crack them, they aren't actually aren't trying to get your password specifically. They're trying to get as many passwords as they can out of the data they have before it becomes obsolete. So in that case, the longer your password is, the better. It's not about more complex though, because there's brute forcing it, which is, just trying all the different letter and character combinations possible. But they also have a database of all leaked passwords they can reference. So putting out a complex password that's in leet speak isn't going to work, because they also have algorithms that can like account for that and offset it. So all that really matters at this point is password length and not complexity. In fact, if a site tells you you have to have some characters and numbers in your password, it's actually a weaker password now, because that reduces the amount of combinations that you can brute force to get it. Oh boy. Well, I know the odds are slim. I kind of don't want to unveil how long my passwords are, just because that would be a huge boon to people trying to brute force it. But I know that, whatever. I say the odds are low enough that someone will actually watch this. But I'd say my longest password that I only use for one thing is 42 characters. And I have that password memorized. Alright, now what the heck do I have to do here? I know I need to do menu code, form change stuff, so I need to have a hotkey for right click. Which means I need to add the variables for that. But after that, there was... Right, name of form, enchants. Is that it? That'd be it. I'm just trying to think of a way I can do things in a more robust fashion with the showing enchantment effects. Alright, I know that with Deuce Faragon, there's only one item, so like when you want to show, when you hit the key combination for show enchantment effects, I just pass the function the enchantment and I'd read off the effects. Oh yeah, I know there was a while where I'd make a unique password for every single thing that required a password, and I'd try to be as creative as possible with them, using my own kind of naming sense for stuff. But that took such a creative toll on me that eventually I'm just like, I'll just reuse them a couple of things. So I never use a password for more than like 2 sites. But I do reuse passwords now, just not for more than 2 sites though, per password. Yeah, but also the most common way to have your password breached is actually with a phishing site, which is like you'll get an email saying that there's suspicious activity in your account, you should change your password, and it'll look official, and click on the link and it'll send you to a page that looks identical to the actual password reset site, or maybe it doesn't, depends how good the hackers are, except the address will be different. And if you enter that, it will not redirect you to the new password site. That's one of the key tip-offs, because it can't redirect you to that, but that's one of the ways they get your password, is like enter your old password and your new password type of deal. Welcome back. Alright, but as I was saying with the enchant effects, so before we could just pass in the enchant. Yeah. There's a bit where Google was actually trying to get rid of this, because they're like, it confuses people and they don't look at it, so we should just get rid of it, simplify it all. But then just brought up the phishing sites. That like makes you a hell of a lot less secure if you can't double check the site's actually correct. If all you get is just the title up there instead of the actual URL. Yeah, that's also a good call. I can't remember the last time I got asked to change a password, though. Alright, with that, alright. So because I have just one effect, one enchant for... one enchant for Deuce Faragon, I can just pass that into a function and read it off. But here, not really, because there's 6 possible enchantments. I'm also debating whether to add like a God mode console command, and that's only if I can add console commands. I know there are some mods that do add console commands, but I think they like directly edit the code with some C++ stuff. I don't know if OBSC will allow me to do that. And I don't think I'm gonna go through the hassle of writing the extra library just to add into one console command. But like the God mode thing was just what I've been thinking about is like for an eventual quest to this is to do it the Metroidvania opening act style, where just have a scenario that gives you the growth equipment at full power, like level capped, massive enchants, just completely overwhelming, and then you have to go back, and then as you leave the area and going back to Tamriel proper, the artifacts lose power as you get closer. And so by the time you're back in Tamriel, they're at level 1. So that way you get a taste of max power without actually keeping it. I'm just thinking of adding in like a console command to toggle God mode with the armor so that you just get those absurd stats. Yeah, I did a little bit of research in cybersecurity as like a college course, and that was really intriguing. Just, like if you don't, what I specifically researched was on input sanitization, and not just the method of it, but like if you don't sanitize the inputs, all the kind of stuff you can do to a database, which is the fact that I wonder if I can display it because I don't remember the exact code. So just like you have input field. And if you don't sanitize the input, you can either do this or this, and then just start typing more code. And if it's not sanitized, then it'll recognize this as either invalid input, or it'll actually read all of this as properly the input code, meaning like in the code, it'll be like this in the variable. But part of the time, they'll kind of read it like that, where if it's not sanitized. So actually have this, and then you have the rest of the input field is now code that's going to run. And it just gets really cool with all the stuff you can actually like mess with in databases. I did not get a minor. I think I just didn't want to do all the extra work, but power to you if you can actually go for that. Take a look at your load order. All right, I forgot this doesn't actually handle load order. Because if I remember correctly, because it's open in the instruction set. But I'm not actually sure how you do load order outside of a mod manager, because I've only ever used the mod manager to handle at least plugin order, and I think it handles it by file date. Either it's the order you check them in, or it's the order, or it's file date. But like the image you sent me, this image, this is the one that's in the mod manager, and this is just an alphabetical order. That's not actually the order that they're loaded. That tells you what you have loaded, but not actually the order, and therefore the conflicts. Okay. Well, then I'll take a look at them, because if a small list like this, there shouldn't be that much in terms of conflicts. And in this map marker overhaul, you mentioned had a conflict with Darnified, which I hope you got resolved by reading through the descriptions and bug reports. Yeah, there aren't any conflicts that stand out to me. I obviously don't know all the mods. Like, I know Weapon Improvement Project, I've seen, that's a mesh replacer. Vanilla Combat Enhanced I have, and that's fine. Skill restrictions, that shouldn't conflict? No, that shouldn't. It was something else I had. I had these, like, MGK miscellaneous tweaks that also change the hand-to-hand description a bit, but you don't have that. So skill restrictions should be fine. If not got core or gosh or display stats, and B Magic Eevee, that is lame. The main module, which nice. Yeah, I think any mod manager lets you do auto sorting. I use Vortex, which is their up-to-date one, and yeah, you can sort things. It also has uses loot, load order optimization tool, in order to optimize the load order for you, so it auto sorts everything for me. And you can also create custom rules if you just drag this, and that'll tell it whether you want things to load before or after certain mods. It's like when you can manage the rules. Yeah, that was because Ivalon actually, for some reason, Ivalon has a dirty edit, or an ITM, where it toggles the borders on. So I have to have that load separate from the rest to make sure that the borders are off. That said, the Vortex is not fully set up for Oblivion. So Vortex is best at like Skyrim and other more recent games. For older games, it's not fully supporting them. So like with Oblivion, with the installs, it'll drop all the stuff in here. Like, it'll drop all the stuff into your data folder. Cool. Except this file structure is actually designed for Rybash installs. Which is... maybe I can show it. Because I don't know if I can show this without actually installing it, and I don't want to do that, because that's an issue. We're going to have to hit yes on this, aren't we? I initially had some stuff installed via Rybash because that was before I kind of figured out the file structure and how to do it semi-manually with Vortex. But I spent some time to uninstall things with Rybash and reinstall them in Vortex. That way it's all handled with the load order through the same manager. So that's going to take like forever and a half. Because... or is it data files? I have a lot of mods. A lot of stuff. Yeah, with this, it's just... whenever you hit enable on this, it's, as I should, if I have it still, yeah. And what it does is, it just, whatever you see here just gets dumped into your data folder in Oblivion. So all you need to, so you can keep these or delete these if you want, but basically with Rybash, This is set up for main installation, so each of these are actually like options that you'll see as checkboxes in Rybash installer. And it'll install only stuff from those folders, like it'll extract this stuff. So if you want to do it through Vortex, you just, extract this stuff yourself. And then just paste it in here, but then I'd overwrite. But still, you just kind of copy and paste and extract things through there. And you can delete these if you want or not, because these aren't going to get read, because none of the code should be looking into these folder names. So it's fine to leave them there. That does make the data. It does make data a bit messy, because you have all these extra Rybash folders, but I left them in so I can actually change the options. So yeah, it's just as long as you make sure that what you see here is correct file tree for data, that it's fine. Vortex can handle the rest. It'll dump it into data and it'll handle conflicts, it'll handle plugin order. It handles most stuff for you. Now for Skyrim and later, it also handles the file trees, because Vortex understands mods, it understands any kind of file, archive, whatever format that was made for Skyrim or later games. But not Oblivion, does not understand mods. Rybash is not even halfway done. And we're gonna have even more mods for the new playthrough. I legit have a concern about our stability at that point. Not that I'm gonna spend the time to make sure there aren't conflicts and crashes from that, but there's also a size limitation. This is a 32-bit engine, so there can only be so many references before the game runs out of memory for references and crashes because of it. Take care too, Zobit, and right back at you. Have a great night, sleep well, and may your future days be bountiful. Alright, I gotta get back to actual coding. Oh, right, so I was gonna do the whole enchant thing. So I think I only ever got halfway through explaining. Just the fact that what I want to do this time is, instead of passing in the enchantment itself, I'm going to pass in the item. And then see if there's an OBS function. I think there's an OBS function to do this, but I'll have to go double check. There's one I can do to get the enchantment on an item. So I just pass it the item that you click on, your active menu selection, and then pull the enchantment from that and show it. The Blizzard. You like DQ Blizzard flavor? Gosh, I haven't been to Dairy Queen since I was like 7. I have been to some more local ice cream shops though, like small, like not chains, they only exist in that one spot. Yeah, I haven't been to Dairy Queen in gosh darn over a decade. But to ice cream shops, I know I'm real fond of vanilla milkshakes, and I recently had a mango smoothie that had a bit of vanilla ice cream in it, and that was freaking fantastic. It gives you that classic fruity flavor without being, oh hey, I think Rybash is done. How the heck did I... Ooh, right. That's how Rybash installers went. Yeah, so Rybash installation was basically enter textures, wouldn't it? Yeah. Actually, not that. What's that? I think Imperial Roads had one. No, this doesn't look like I had that set up. Basically, I'm looking for one that has the Bane ready installer file structure so I can demonstrate it. There are definitely texture packs that had everything. It's probably Imperial City retextured then. Alright, so you want to copy instead of move. Actually, that's just for archiving purposes. If you move it, it's going to delete it from here. And instead move it to Rybash's folder, so I do a copy. And then if we have, yeah, here we are. So as you can see, you have all these little tick boxes next to it. You just choose one of the number. So you shouldn't choose both because they'll overwrite each other. But if we open up the archive, assuming 7-zip can handle it. Yeah, as you can see, it's this file structure that I showed you in... let's see if I can actually find this mod itself. That was Imperial something, right? Yeah, Imperial City Retextured modular version. So here it is. All you have to do is just... As you can see, there is no like meshes or texture file here. That's just because I went into these folders and extracted the meshes and textures into here, because as I said, whatever's in this specific level of the directory is just going to get dumped into your data file, data folder. And this is set up so the Rybash can read that and give you all these checkboxes instead. So that's really the only like hitch to using Vortex to install Oblivion mods, because you have to do that part manually. Where was it? You know what? I'm not going to install that. I'm not going to delete it because Rybash doesn't do restores to files. Like, say you have two mods that both overwrite the same mesh. They both modify the same mesh. Or rather, one adds the mesh. They both add the same mesh with the same file name because one edits the other. If you delete one in Rybash, it deletes that file because it distributes in the mod, which means the other mod, when you load it into the game, it's going to have a missing mesh. Vortex detects that kind of conflict and reverts it back to the other mod's version. Which is why I really love Vortex for modding, because it just handles all that kind of version control and conflict resolution for you. I don't even need Vortex open, so I'm just modding the shit out of this. Well, coding. You know, I think I only really need to pass an item. Only if we need to return value. So your load order. Again, I don't recognize core or gosh, or actually like the top half of this aside that from the DLCs. bottom half doesn't look like it would have much of any conflicts. And it's also small, so any conflicts you do have should be easy enough to find. Unlike my gargantuan low order. But I'm just gonna take so long. Alright, here is the function list. I think it was get enchantment. I think it was called get enchantment. Here it is. Get enchantment. Yes. Yes, this does exactly what I want it to. I used this check, or I used it in the disenchantment blocks inside the sigil stone menu and the enchantment menu, because this function will return a 0 if it's not enchanted. And I've used that to tell if I should send out some warnings or not. Which means I'm going to need to have a ref enchantment, and then we do let enchant equal get enchantment item. Oh, that's right, I haven't set the name yet. Enchant effects. Right now, I really need to go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna be right back. I'm back. And while I was on the throne of thought, I just remembered that if you check to see if check an item's health and it's not in inventory, that returns a 0. Rather, I just remember having this one issue with. Oh gosh, I don't think I need this function anymore. It's a very simple function. But it was get broken, right? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. I actually checked for it. Because one of the things was that one of the issues I had with Referral was if you got disarmed by anything, like if it broke, it would work as expected and you D-level. If you dropped it, it works as expected and nothing would happen. If you unequipped it, nothing would happen. But if you got disarmed, like if a bandit did a sideways power attack and disarmed you, it would D-level as if it had broken. And that bug perplexed the heck out of me. But I went through the logic and came to the conclusion, the right conclusion, that what's happening is that my check was basically like on unequip, because that's when the game would unequip. Because if you have a weapon that's broken, the game basically checks if durability is less than 0, and if it is, then it automatically unequips it. And so my initial check to do Referral was unequip. So what happened is you get disarmed, it will run the unequip block. But it would run the unequip block after it was removed from your inventory. And so the health would come back at 0 because there is no item with health to get, which would then trigger the value for broken, because we're looking for health that's less than or equal to 0. Anyway, after that, I moved the break check to the manager, so it always checks every half second if it's broken. Doesn't actually matter if it's unequipped or not. That's what this little line here, these 2 lines, do, is that we get the stack of get a stack of references pointing to our object. And then we just get, oh hey, how many references have we gotten? So this should return a big fat 0. Or an empty array if we don't have it in our inventory. Actually, I think I'll go check that in game. That bit rate's being low. It's not quite going to 0, but it was at like 1500 for a while. Yeah, the packet issues have been persisting, but yeah, they aren't as long. Not losing full 0 for as long. I may disable the Nagel algorithm completely though. I'll try that for next stream. So yeah, outside of tests like this, I really haven't been playing Oblivion at all. I just unequipped it. Alright, I'd say we have ourselves a success. Alright, now then, to really test that it works, we need to break our armor. Oh, I already have a test spell. Okay, call it 2. Really? Heck did... Oh, reflect spell. And this is a test save after all. Okay, makes sense. Alright. Should break one? Yeah, because the health was pretty low to begin with. It's only hitting the torso. Oh, that's true. Oh, right, because the level can't actually go any lower. Oh, it is setting the XP to 0, though. It's actually pretty good. Means it is working. Well, it might be triggering multiple times. Where is it? No, it triggered only once. Alright, so let's set it to 10. Should have roughly steel stats. And then we just cast this until we have 3 broken items. Alright, so I have 1 broken item with the gauntlets. 2, the helmet. Yes! Works. Yep, it's down to level 1. Oh, that's actually good oversight to take into account, which is the fact that current durability can go over max durability, and that's not adjusted when you level down. It's not adjusted when it changes. That's a good thing to... Yeah, that's good. Good oversight to catch. So I need to update my work log. Alright, so let's see, what did I do? Right, create set level cap. Cap type. Added checks to unset cap once. Flavor text. Sub block. And now I need to... Oh boy. I need to do right now is I also need to set... Oh. Gosh, Molotov. I feel like I've seen your name before, but if I have, it was a long time ago. And it was on Twitch too. Either way, hello, greetings. Welcome to a Coding for Oblivion stream. Let's see. Right now I'm just typing on the work log off on the second monitor. Same as it is here, same name on YouTube, Twitch, and DLive. Just feel like I've seen your name on Twitch before. So, do you mod Oblivion much? That's just to get... These are just some questions to get an idea of how familiar you'd be with what exactly I'm working on. Or how much to explain, I guess. Wait, so... I probably need to make a new function. Should I make a new function for this? Maybe. Okay. So you don't use mods. Should be able to... Not that. Here we are. So this is the mod I worked on for like... How long? Like 2-3 months? Almost? Just a growth weapon with a lot of forms. There's... I'll say in the changelog how many unique forms there are. Like non-vanilla meshes. It was, yes, 373 non-vanilla meshes. And I show 79 here in the images, because that's just too many to take screenshots of. But it's a weapon that grows as you hit things with it. So it has its own XP and level. And it has a custom enchantment too, where there's 10 options you can grow, so... I guess here's the intro breakdown. So basically you hits like... Default it's level 11. There's a really extensive ini file, I can actually just... Yeah, oh, here's the ini. Or rather, this is a function that contains the ini, so that way if you, for some reason, either muck up or delete your own ini file, it still has values to work off of. We have... But these are all stats you can change. You have the base stats, the growth rate, how much it gets per level. There's the adjustments per subtype, like claymores, bastard swords, warhammers, axes, maces. Even bows and staves too it can be. The enchantments, there's 10 options. They each come with 3 effects, and this is the per effect stats for each, with their own costs and whatnot. So you can basically hit level like 11. I can probably demonstrate it, because after I finished this or got satisfied with it, I started working on growth armor, which is what all this code in the background is. Okay, bitrate was 0 for a while there. So here's my weapon. I have it. Let's see, what the heck was my level? I have to show it because I don't remember what it was. Oh, 103. Okay. So I have level 1. I designed it so that level 26 is equal to Daedric. It's just a lot of bit rate loss right there. And I designed it so that level 26 is equal to Daedric. So this is way stronger than what anything in this level should be. You can change the form to whatever the heck you want. And yeah, here is the enchantment. So there's active enchantments. You can pick one of 10 effects every... It starts level 11, and then every 5 levels thereafter you get to pick a new effect set. And so it'll grow one at a time, so you can add more effects to it, or not. You can just pick one and have a low-cost, high-use enchantment. Or pick everything, and have one that can only use like 15 times before you're out of charges, but well, really strong. Basically what will happen is this. So the armor I have instead of effect sets, it's going to be individual effects you can choose from. And for testing, yeah, this stuff takes a while. I've been working on this growth armor for like maybe a month now. I've got the level growing part done, but not the customization and stuff. But yeah, for testing, I'm just going to do shield and feather, because those are, I don't have to dig deep into the menus, because you can fortify all your attributes, all your resources, and every skill in the game. As well as get restore effects. These ones grow very slowly, because you can say to restore health on all 6 pieces of armor, and have 6 points restore health right at the start, and that's going to be really powerful. Because of that, I made them grow really slowly. And there's shield and feather. Except for the shield itself, which has the extra effects of effect damage, spell, and spell absorption. Because again, for balancing purposes, I made sure they're restricted to this. Eventually I'll make growth jewelry, which will also include the reflect effects, but for now it's just the shield. And so now, if you take a look at the items in inventory, they have the shield effects and spell absorption. There's also a resist fire 2, and that is because... Gosh, I have to open this up. Yeah, I have a lot of functions. This is all the functions I've made for this mod. But what I have it do is the XP you get for the armor. Well, so the weapon is just every time you hit a thing, it gets 1 XP, and every time you do a power attack, it gets 3 XP. For the armor, it's every point of damage you take is 1 XP for it. This way, in both cases, if you want to get more XP, you turn up the difficulty. Or you change how they work in default any, because you can change these values and make the XP curve a lot easier. But what it does is, on top of tracking the XP gain total for that, there's also keep track of damage types you're hit by. So you actually have dynamic resistances for it against fire, frost, shock, magic, normal weapons, paralysis, and disease. So the more you get hit with each of these effects, don't know when that cut off during my explanation, but the more you get hit with each of these effects, the more resistance you have. For testing purposes, I just set the XP value, or rather the resistance XP value for fire, just to make sure that it works, which is why we have resist fire 2% on everything. Because I believe, let's show, yeah, I just set it to 1000. So it doesn't keep track of it exactly, and that's because the tools we have aren't exactly robust enough. I think I could. It would just... There's some handlers I'd have to use which sometimes don't fire. There's some handlers I have to use that sometimes don't fire, and on top of that, So there's a handler I can set that... Here's all the handlers, the on ones. So I can basically get how much damage you take total, but I can't get specifically how much fire damage you took. Now, I can pull, like, say, the spell effectiveness of the enemy caster. Man, there is a shit ton of lost packets. And it is annoying to explain this when the packets are getting dropped this much. Anywho. So I can't exactly get how much specific fire damage you get unless I, say, get the data for how much fire resistance you have, how much total damage you took, what spell you got hit by, so I can get the base fire damage amount, the difficulty modifier, because that multiplies the fire damage you take, as well as the spell effectiveness of the caster that shot the fire spell, because that also affects the fire damage you take, and then all together just completely reconstruct the damage formula. And through that, I can get exactly how much fire damage you took. But that's not only a lot of effort, but that would also probably take a while, and that would also require the use of some handlers that sometimes just don't fire. Like, they don't activate, so I don't get the data I need in time, or at all. So because of that, I've done a simpler approach where I just evenly distribute, where, like, I just know this is how much damage you took. You took 50 points of damage, and you got hit by fire damage and physical damage, so you get 25 points to fire XP. Just evenly distribute it, so I know when you get hit by a certain element. And I can check if you have damage over time too, because that actually gets registered in your active effects list. So I can just check that. So not exact, but I am tracking how much damage you take of each type, to give you resistances against each of them, instead of, say, giving you the option here. Because if you gave you the option here, you could just kind of stack resist magic, and by, like, I don't know, level 20 or something, become immune to all type of magic damage. In which case I'd either have to heavily nerf resist magic or something. Instead I have it set up so that way if you want to get 100% resist magic, you have to get hit by a lot of non-typed magic attacks. You have to get hit by damage, health, or drain health a lot. And then with that, you can see now I have shield and feather on here. And as you'll notice, the shield started at 4% and went up 5 levels to 9% because the growth rate is 1.1 or 1.2. Forget what I said it for. 1.1 is probably it. And then if I set this to 20, which should be right before the next Seek level, you see feather's gone up, but shield hasn't. That's what I'm talking about, where only the last enchant you chose is the one that grows, and the other ones stop. So with that, you can honestly stack as many enchants as you want, but there's opportunity cost, because you lose out on other ones. So it's the mod I'm working on with growth armor. I mean, there's a lot more nuance to it than explained, but I think that covered the basic concept of it. How it tracks things. What I need to work on is... What was that? Oh, right. Right. It's working on displaying it because... Yeah, as I showed with the weapon, you can actually have inventory hotkeys, as well as in-game hotkeys too, but I'm not going to do that for the armor. Which allow you to do things like change the form of it, to see the enchant effects, to see what the form name is so you can actually find it in the menus. That type of stuff. Actually, I'll just go in and show it. That's easier if I just quit it. But I just today, kind of last night, finished the growth sections. Now it's just the form change and checking all the stats and things. All the menus and pop-ups. Takes some time to initialize, and that's how you know, because one of the kind of absurd things I have to work around with this is that when you make changes to especially armor in Oblivion, those changes don't actually get reflected. You have to re-equip it for the changes to take place. Whether that be adding an enchantment, modifying the enchantment, or modifying the armor itself. Which is why you hear those equip sounds, because I can't re-equip it silently. I can re-equip it really fast, but I can't do it silently. Otherwise, the equip block doesn't get run. And we need to do the equip block in order to set the equip flag, so that I actually know you have it equipped and should set the handlers for like tracking damage. And the thing is, there is a handler that I could use that will trigger no matter what when you equip an item. So that way I can equip things silently, except that handler is bugged and will fire twice for enchanted items. So I can't use that because then it'll screw up the equip flag. So I have to do things with a little noise. Like you'll notice it when I... Bitrate recovers. Yeah, alright. Still showing. Alright, there we go. Stabilized. But you'll notice it when it levels up. You see it flash for a single frame that I'm naked. That's because I have to unequip it and re-equip it in order for the stat changes to actually take effect. And then I have a debug flag, which shows all these messages here in the console, or most of them. Some of them, like saying the level became 2. Some of them, like saying the level became 2, will always show. because I keep... Say set it to 3. You see upper left, there's that message there. And I want to keep that kind of ambiguous, but still give you a little bit of console information, so you have more exact info to work on. And then the debug messages are for myself. So that should... And now, as you can see, you have in the console message, all that will get printed is the message that appeared in the upper left, and the new level that it became on level up. If you set debug flag to 1, you get so much more goddamn information that helps me make sure things are working properly. And also, of course, if you break it, like if you let enough items of this break, and I do the same with the weapon, where if you get the durability hit 0, then it'll de-level. At which point, you get a message box, level goes down. And I was a hell of a time to make sure that the enchantments are also done properly, because you can choose the enchantments in any order, any level. For the weapon, I just did round robin style, where it goes down by 5 for each effect. But with the armor, I went the extra mile and actually record every single level increase for enchantments. So I actually know the exact enchant history for leveling, and can just rewind that and hit undo as many times as necessary in order to bring things back when you level down. But again, what I'm working on now, this part, this menu, and that little message in the upper left. So this more, you can change the shape of it, and there's hotkeys for the weapon, so you can quick swap to the last form you change to. This way, you can say do staff, and then quick swap to the sword. So you still have that whole range to melee swapping functionality going on. And then, just because there's a lot of forms, you can also hit random. And there's even a hotkey for random in game too. What else is there? Right. And there's something I have to actually add an item to myself to show. Oops, no, I spelled that right. Which is the fact that you can, I believe it was shift right. Alright. So with the upcoming update, you can do shift right click to actually mimic items in your inventory. I mean, this is also like included in, you go into Claymore all the way to the end, you get Vanilla Daedric. But we also have mimicry here. So if you get something that's not, yeah, this really nice to have that. I'm gonna have it for the armor too, and yeah, that morphing bit is what I have to work on now for the armor here. Otherwise, we'll just have iron armor the entire time. There's mimicry, and then there's also, yes, there's also weapon eating. So, because with the growth weapon, you don't really have a reason to pick up loot, because your weapon's going to be the best weapon out there, and it's going to grow with you, so you need to pick up a new sword. But now you do have a reason, because you can just eat it. You can see in the console log, it actually, if I can get a good contrast in the background. There we are. You can see it actually gives you XP and also tells you where the XP came from. So this will convert durability and enchantment charge into XP for it, as well as consume the weapon. This also had some nuances to it, because the inventory UI actually does not get updated when you add or remove things to it. It only gets updated when you like equip or unequip items, or you open or close it. So I had to make this invisible torch that I just equip, that I just add to you, equip and unequip. Don't know how much of that got cut off, so I don't know how that. So because the inventory doesn't get refreshed, I made this invisible torch that I just add to your inventory, equip, unequip, and remove from inventory whenever you eat and whenever you sacrifice an item in your inventory. So that way it gets properly updated. But yep, it gets properly updated and you actually lose the one. Because otherwise it would still show that you had the 2 danger claim sacrificed one or even both of them. The other thing is that when it comes to mimicry, is that for one, that gets stored. So switch it to wolf and then switch it back to mimicry. So it'll store the last thing you mimicked. Only one slot though. I can technically set more slots, but I only give you one. That way you don't need to keep the item in your inventory. So, you know, you could copy Goldbrand or Crusader weapons. Those aren't supported. Or some other mod. And I actually have it look at the stats of the weapon that you're mimicking or determine subtype, because to Oblivion there's only 4 weapon types. Blade one-handed, blade two-handed, blunt one-handed, and blunt two-handed. There are no other weapon types in the game. Your claymores, your longswords, your short swords, your daggers, your maces, your war axes, those are all illusory subtypes that don't actually exist in the engine. They just kind of name it a certain way and then make sure all the stats fall in line with that type of subcategory. So in order to actually enforce that with mimicry, I have to look at the stats of the weapon you're mimicking and do a subdivision based on that. So with blades, I look at speed. With blades, I look at reach. So if it's longer than certain thresholds, you'll get a claymore, bastard sword, longsword, short sword, or dagger. And with blunt, I look at speed, because blunts could be the same reach. Although in vanilla they aren't, but I made a mod to fix blunt's gross phantom reach, because they can hit a lot farther than they actually should be able to. And so that way, that mod can coexist with mine. Because you're going to have your one-handers be the same reach, so you have to look at speed as the only differentiating factor. Yeah. So as it levels up, the damage increases, the weight increases, the speed increases. The reach does not increase, but I do let you tweak that, so you could have the reach increase too. Value increases too, but why would you ever sell this? And then if I can... not that. I want to... file location. So as well, this is like the actual files that I work with when I'm working on it. I do zip up this entire thing into the archive for the Nexus, so you do actually get transcriptions of the entire code in the mod that you can look at if you want. So yeah, you can, and this stuff, it gets read every time you load a save. Because if I open up, manager. So basically, anytime the game gets loaded, we then just set our variables, and then we read the ini file. So you don't have to like quit game in order to do it. You can just tweak, you can alt tab, tweak the ini file, make a save, then load it, and the changes will be in effect. And then it'll have all the stats you need, and it recalculates the stats from scratch every time you initialize. So those changes won't be like, it won't carry over stats from a previous save, because Oblivion's like that. So not many variables actually get saved when you quit game. So globals and string variables are saved, but everything else, it goes poof. However, if the game is not quit, then all the variable data carries over between loads. And so because of that, all the variable data carrying over, I had this issue making Deus Faragon, where every time I load a save, the stats would double. Because all I was doing was adding the right amount of stats for that level to it, assuming that it would get reset to what I had it set in the engine. It's not the case. Which is why I have to, instead of modding the stats, I have to set them, which overwrites their stats. Of course, with Zephyros, you can set the names of everything, including the prefix and suffix. Oh yeah, that is what they're called. I've been calling it postfix this entire time because I could not remember the fact that suffix exists. Yeah. Also have flags to tell if you actually want to include the prefix or suffix in them. So you could actually have, here are the defaults, you could have Zephyros Kuros of Growth. Or just Kuros. You could omit both if you want. Your base stats, growth rates, the heavy armor multiplier, because you can shift between light and heavy. I don't have the code in place for that to actually like do it in game, but I do have like the function for switching between the two. Level up stuff, like you can have the level cap be based on either what you set here, the base value of 201, or you can have it be based on your level, you can have it be based on your skills, you can have it be based on your fame. There's a break thresholds, and how much triggering a break actually delevels it. You can have it delevel down to 1, or it can have delevel by a fixed amount. There's whole growth resistances I've set up to, and whether those resistances will actually get applied to the armor before you hit the enchant start level. Because you can't repair enchanted gear unless you're a journeyman in armor. To compensate that, it starts off unenchanted. So there's an option for if you want to get enchanted early if you happen to take enough elemental damage. Got the enchantment stats, and that's alright, and then the latency for the damage check. So this value here will determine how often the mod actually examines the damage you take. And there's a debug flag, because I need that set in here, otherwise I don't have any debug messages popping up during the initialization phase of this block. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in this block, and without that little setting in the ini file, I would not get debug messages for any of this. So, I put that in for my sake, and I am purposefully vague. Or not purposely vague, I'm just not as in-depth with this one as I am about the others, because you should really just leave this off if you're going for normal use. Alright. Oh, right. I'm gonna do the whole show enchant thing. Though it is almost midnight, so like maybe 5-10 more minutes or something, and then I'm gonna end the stream. Which, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna like pass out because you said you're drunk, but say it early, but thank you for watching. Not over quite yet, but soon enough. Let's see what I need. To have the enchantment, I'll just look at my old code. Oh, right, I need to get a string, and then I need to... Ooh. Okay. Okay, I think you can see how I can do this. There, just call it effects. I should just make that shorter, because I'll be typing this out a lot. Go, and then make that enchantment. And then I will be needing a short count and a short I, because we'll be doing a while loop. Count equal, what was it? Let's see, let's find enchantment section. It might not be here because it might be a standard CS function instead of an OBSE one. Probably is. You can also like get magic item count. Or get magic effect count, perhaps. Magic item effect count. Is that it? Yeah, that's probably it. Also, I checked for that. Yeah, let's get magic item effect count because I use that here. I'm assigning enchantments. So basically I have a function to assign all the enchantments to all the items. And it basically actually checks if there's effects on the enchantment. Because you can actually assign an enchantment with 0 effects to an item and it counts as the item being enchanted. And it will show an empty tooltip for the enchantment effects. So I'd have to make sure it actually has effects before I enchant it. Count for the enchant. Let me let I equal 0. I mean, kind of whatever you want. I haven't personally played on Master. Okay. Personally, I haven't really played on Master difficulty. And again, it's also been many years since I seriously played Skyrim. I imagine any race you want, because I don't think there's too many issues. Although I do know full well about the memes of stealth archers, which I assume Bosmer would be the best for. Now then, Oblivion scripting language does not have for loops, which is a real shame because for loops would be real nice. Except you have to do while loops with an increment here. Remember, there was one time, and only one time, where I forgot to put in this let I plus equals 1, and I had this freeze that I spent like half a day trying to figure out where it came from. Wild times. Let's see, while I does this thing count? Now that I think about this, unless I provide more information, I actually can't tell what the active enchantment is. Like, the active enchantment I keep track of via global. I have a global value for each piece of armor that contains an integer that tells me which effect. And unless I pass that along, I actually don't know what the active effect is. Fair enough. I mean, if we're going preferential races, I just prefer Breton because that sweet resist magic. I wonder, do I have something that can tell me in words already? With the... I mean, I could make an if. I could just take this and copy it over, but I think that would be greatly inflate the size of this function. I think I might just make an array so I can get back this data and then just convert it. Alright, so is there a function to... there has to be a function that can convert effect codes into the actual statements. Oh, are we not actually in the enchantment set? No, we're not. Oh, we're in the object stuff, that's why. Okay, let's go further down then. Alright, this should... yeah, here we are. The actual section with enchantment functions. Wonder, is there something to convert a code though into string? Doesn't really seem like it. That's unfortunate. Alright, let's look for the code then. Aha! Magic effect from code. Yeah, this should be fine. Magic effect from code, and then I'll have to do an actor value from code. Because if it's a fortify effect, there's the effect code for fortify, and then there's a secondary actor value code you have to give it to, otherwise it just defaults to fortify luck. The actor value... string C, I think? Yeah, here we are. Alright, let's need these two functions. means I'm going to need an array bear. Ah, I can't call it item, huh? I'll leave it as item. Now that I think about it, how did I? Yeah, I pretty much just have to do this. I can really just go down the enchantment one by one and get everything. It's pretty easy to get all the effects. It's just the active effect that requires a bit of extra work. Which means I also need to give the short Now I'll leave it as the 4K version. Alright, and then we have let code equals superheroes. What's it? Get effect code. Active. And that will return. Alright, that will... I don't have the function up. Alright, that will return basically the effect code and the actor value that it influences, if any. Yeah, if you're talking about the black hood that I use, then yeah, I do. Yeah, where's an image that... I'll just go through these. It's also good for Molotov because you'll get to see some more weapon types. Yeah, the black hood I'm using is from Concealing Hoods. Yeah, that's all the forms that are shown. Yeah. The mask is from the Ranger's Shroud armor set. That show up? Yeah, it does. Yeah, this is what the armor actually looks like. The other screenshots are an earlier version, which I think they removed from the Nexus. I'm not sure. But this is what you currently get, and I use the face mask from it. It's 11 past midnight, so... Well, it's not exactly a good endpoint, it's time to call it. So thank you for watching, and glad to see you in your face here, Molotov. I try to stream nightly, not always though. Yeah, that almost ended early. Anywho, said I try to stream every night. I don't always. There's a Discord link in the description, and let me know if it doesn't work. It hasn't worked in the past, and I've updated it several times. It should work, because it's a permanent invite code, but whatever. But I ping on Discord on my server when I'm going to stream, so that's a reliable way of knowing. Or you could just use whatever site you want to watch his notifications. Either way. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to call it here. Have a great night, and hope to see you again.